Right now, an American military aviator is missing in action, and there is a race tonight to locate and recover them before the Iranians can get there first.
An American F-15E Strike Eagle just got shot down over Iran. This is the first manned U.S. combat aircraft lost to enemy fire since Operation Epic Fury began. Every bombing sortie, every close air support run, every combat search and rescue mission over Iranian territory now carries a question mark that did not exist 24 hours ago. On the same day, an A-10 Warthog was hit and crashed in the Persian Gulf region. Its pilot ejected and was recovered alive. A rescue helicopter taking fire. Small arms rounds punching through the fuselage, wounding crew on board. And an entire nation, Iran, turning its television broadcasts into a live manhunt for missing American airmen. All of this happened within a single 12-hour window on April 3rd, 2026. Over the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly what unfolded, what the U.S. military response looked like in real time, and why the $1.5 trillion war budget that dropped the same day changes the trajectory of this conflict. Now here's what we know. The F-15E Strike Eagle was flying a combat mission over southwestern Iran as part of Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. and Israeli military campaign that began on February 28th. Iranian air defenses locked on. The jet was hit. Both crew members ejected. They were now on the ground inside hostile territory. The White House confirmed President Trump was immediately briefed. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told Axios directly, "The president has been briefed." Within hours, a combat search and rescue operation was launched deep inside Iran. The F-15E is a Boeing-built multi-role strike fighter, 2 crew members, a pilot and a weapons systems officer. It has been the backbone of U.S. bombing operations over Iran since the war began, conducting both air-to-air and devastating air-to-ground strikes. The U.S. military has hit over 12,300 targets since this campaign started. The F-15E has carried a significant share of that load. Iranian state media broke the story first. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed they shot down a U.S. F-35 stealth fighter. That claim was wrong. Weapons experts looked at the debris. N.R. Jensen Jones, director of Armament Research Services, examined the photos posted by Iran's Tasnim news agency and identified the wreckage as an F-15E Strike Eagle. Wes J. Bryant, a former Pentagon advisor on precision warfare, confirmed the same assessment independently. Tail markings on the debris pointed to the 48th Fighter Wing, based at RAF Lakenheath in the United Kingdom. Iran got the model wrong, but the capability reshaping this entire conflict is what it carries inside. This aircraft was not just flying reconnaissance. CBS News national security analyst Aaron McClain, a Marine Corps veteran who served in Afghanistan, stated it plainly. This aircraft would have been prosecuting targets on the ground in Iran. That is what the U.S. lost. A strike platform actively delivering ordnance on Iranian positions. So why does that matter right now? Because just 48 hours earlier, President Trump told the nation in a primetime address, "They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force." And the day before that, CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper said at his operational briefing, "Their air and missile defense systems have largely been destroyed." One day later, those largely destroyed defenses brought down an F-15E, damaged an A-10, and put rounds into a rescue helicopter. There is a 2-day gap between what is being said at podiums and what is landing on the ground. That gap is widening every single day. Iranian authorities moved immediately. State television broadcast a message urging civilians to join the search for the American pilots. A reward was offered. 10 billion Iranian tumans, roughly $76,000 for anyone who could find the crew alive and turn them over. An Iranian soccer player added his championship medals to the bounty. The governor of the province said whoever captured the crew would be specially commended. This was a nationwide manhunt, on live television, for 2 American airmen stranded inside enemy territory. But the U.S. military moved faster. U.S. Special Forces located one of the 2 crew members and rescued him alive on Iranian soil. He was extracted by 2 U.S. military helicopters. CBS News confirmed this citing 2 U.S.
television. Now, these have yet to be verified, but it would be interesting to get your thoughts on this, Sean.
Officials. The rescued crew member was alive and receiving medical treatment, but the helicopter carrying him out was hit by small arms fire. Crew members on board were wounded. It still managed to land safely. All personnel are receiving medical care. The search for the second crew member, the weapons systems officer, was still ongoing. Social media videos geolocated by CNN showed a U.S. Air Force HC-130J Combat King II refueling aircraft and HH-60 Pave Hawk helicopters flying low over central and southwestern Iran. A rescue mission inside a country the U.S. is actively at war with, broadcast in real time for the world to see. Israel stepped in. An Israeli official confirmed to the Associated Press that Israel suspended planned airstrikes on Iran to avoid interfering with the American rescue operation. Strikes were halted in areas relevant to the search. Israel also provided intelligence to help locate the second crew member. Even in the middle of a 5-week war, every available asset was pointed at bringing one person home. Here is where this gets structural. Most people assume that losing one jet in a 5-week air campaign is a minor setback, a statistical anomaly in a war where over 12,300 targets have been struck. In reality, this loss exposed something the Pentagon has been trying to keep quiet. Iran's integrated air defense network is not dead. It is wounded, degraded, and fractured, but it is not dead. Retired Lieutenant General David Deptula, Dean of the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies, framed it this way: air superiority does not mean zero risk. That single sentence carries more weight today than it did yesterday, because this was not a drone. This was not a friendly fire incident. This was a manned American strike fighter brought down by Iranian air defenses. That changes the calculus for every pilot flying over that country tonight. Iran's parliamentary speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf posted on X within hours. This brilliant no-strategy war they started has now been downgraded from regime change to, hey, can anyone find our pilots? That is a propaganda win. Iran knows it, and they are using it. Now apply that to the budget equation. On the same day this F-15E went down, President Trump submitted his fiscal year 2027 budget request to Congress. The number is $1.5 trillion for defense. That is the largest defense budget request in the history of the United States, a 44% increase over last year. Now let us talk about what this costs, because the numbers here are more alarming than anything happening on the battlefield. Of that $1.5 trillion, $1.1 trillion goes through the normal congressional appropriations process, which requires bipartisan support. The remaining $350 billion gets pushed through budget reconciliation, which Republicans can pass alone with a simple majority. This is on top of a separate $200 billion emergency war funding request specifically for Operation Epic Fury. The budget funds 85 new F-35 fighter jets. Massive expansion of shipbuilding, including Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines, Virginia-class attack submarines, and amphibious assault ships. Significant investment in the Golden Dome missile defense system. And heavy focus on expanding production of 12 critical munitions categories because the war in Iran has been burning through stockpiles at a rate nobody publicly predicted. That sounds manageable until you look at the deficit. The United States is running a $2 trillion annual deficit. The national debt has passed $39 trillion. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget ran the numbers. Boosting defense to $1.5 trillion adds $5.8 trillion in additional spending over the next decade. When you add interest costs, that becomes nearly $7 trillion more on the national debt. Here is the dimension nobody wants to calculate out loud. President Trump said it himself at a private White House event this week. We are fighting wars. We cannot take care of daycare. He was explicit. Medicaid, Medicare, education grants, renewable energy funding, all face cuts. The budget proposes a 10% reduction in non-defense spending across the board. Responsibilities shifted to state and local governments. Senator Patty Murray, the top Democrat on the Senate Appropriations Committee, called it morally bankrupt. Meanwhile, the war is expanding. On April 3rd, a U.S. and Israeli airstrike destroyed Iran's B-1 bridge near Tehran in the city of Karaj. Iranian authorities say at least 8 people were killed and 95 were wounded. Many of them were families gathered along the riverbank to celebrate Nature Day, a traditional Iranian holiday. President Trump posted a video of the collapsing bridge on Truth Social and wrote, "The biggest bridge in Iran comes tumbling down, much more to follow." Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi responded directly. "Striking civilian structures will not compel Iranians to surrender," he added. "Every bridge and building will be built back stronger. What will never recover is damage to America's standing." Iran struck back. Iranian missiles and drones hit facilities across the Persian Gulf on the same day. Kuwait said one of its combined power and desalination plants was attacked, along with the Al Ahmadi port refinery, one of the largest refineries in the region, struck by an Iranian drone causing fires in multiple operating units. The UAE intercepted 18 ballistic missiles, 4 cruise missiles, and 47 drones launched from Iran. 12 people were injured in the UAE, including a Nepali national with major injuries. Saudi Arabia reported intercepting and destroying 6 drones. Oil prices surged. Benchmark U.S. crude rose 11.4% to $111.54 a barrel. Brent crude jumped 7.8% to $109.03. The Strait of Hormuz, which normally carries 20% of the world's oil, has seen shipping traffic drop 90% since the war began. Only about 150 vessels have transited the strait since March 1st, most linked to Iran, China, India, and Pakistan. France launched emergency loans for businesses hit by soaring fuel prices. The Chicago Fed president said the war risks fueling inflation that could block rate cuts for the rest of 2026. This is not a Middle Eastern issue anymore. It is repricing the global economy in real time. 365 U.S. service members wounded, 13 killed, an F-15E shot down by enemy fire, an A-10 lost, a rescue helicopter hit, a weapons systems officer still missing somewhere in the mountains of southwestern Iran, $1.5 trillion requested for defense, $111 oil. The Strait of Hormuz effectively closed, and Iran still launching missiles at Gulf states despite 5 weeks of relentless bombardment. Republican Senator John Curtis of Utah said he will not support more funding for the Iran conflict unless Congress formally declares war. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy said flatly, "We are losing this war." Maryland Governor Wes Moore, an 82nd Airborne veteran, said the U.S. is lurching again into another forever war. The question the world has to answer now is not whether the U.S. can win the air war over Iran. It is what happens when a military spending $1.5 trillion a year, burning through munitions at wartime rates, runs into a conflict where the enemy can still shoot down its jets, close the world's most important shipping lane, and strike oil infrastructure across 4 sovereign nations simultaneously with no end date in sight. Do you think the U.S. should push for a deal with Iran now or escalate further? Let me know. Thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe and like if you want to stay updated. Click the video on screen to see another. I will see you soon.